I mentioned this thing called slot selling, but just give us a definition right now of what exactly is it?
Yes, so slot selling. This is the process of setting up start dates in advance. So a builder would always start the year plan, whether that's a calendar year or a financial year. But generally, anyone in business will always have a plan for the next year, even the next 3 years, as to what they're looking to achieve with their business. When they look at the next 12 months and they look at the budget they set, it's very easy to then work back and be very clear on the number of jobs that need to be starting within that year and spreading those start dates out throughout the year. Now, what that does, that gives you a balanced funnel. But what it does in terms of sales is it limits the supply. And that's really important because there's two key things that you need in order to be able to sell successfully, and that is scarcity and urgency. And that's exactly what slot selling gives you. It gives you that scarcity and urgency. So a builder will look at the year ahead. They'll know exactly what they're looking to achieve, and they will set up their slots, their construction slots in advance, and these are their available start dates. And the next most important thing is then to convey that information to the consumer. So the consumer is well aware that as they go through the sales funnel, it's not a case of the sales funnel will wait for them to be ready. No, we have these dates set in stone, and the only way that you can actually grab one of these slots is to sign a contract and pay a deposit. And that really is the key, because you only assign a slot to a consumer once they've done those two things, that they've signed the contract and paid the deposit. Until then, you never promise a slot and you never allocate a slot, and that's what gives you scarcity and urgency.
So Russ, I've always looked at sales as like where the tail wags the dog. In that, if we have sales, then the dog reacts. And what you're saying is, no, this is really the opposite. Is like, yeah, now the dog is going to wag the tail, and that the builder is going to determine how much I'm going to sell. And we tell that to the consumer, and we simply say to the consumer, if you would like to have your home built, have your home remodeled, this is what you need to do, and you will be one of umpteen people this year that we will serve. And if you're interested, this is how it works.
Yeah. Couldn't have put it better myself. And it's interesting, isn't it? Because if we look back maybe 12, 13 years ago, that is when the sales process was flipped on its head, and the power went from the seller to the consumer because of the internet. And that wasn't just in construction, right. We see in car sales, and a lot of industries were affected by the internet, where all this information was available online and consumers could then do their research without having to speak to anyone. And that really spun the balance of power on its head. And when you introduce slot selling, it actually brings the power, the control back to the seller. And what you said was spot on. You're conveying that information. We have these slots available. Those ones have already been taken. And we have X amount of clients coming through the funnel. So get you to this point in the sales process. By this time, we should be able to get you on that slot, and it helps to keep the consumer focused.
Yep, exactly. One of the questions I always used to that I would coach my clients to ask is then when you're having that conversation with the lead and you're just about ready to talk about slots, is instead of asking them when they want to get started, you ask them, how soon do you want to be living in and enjoying your new home or your new space? Because no one's in a hurry to get started, but everyone knows when they want to be done. And so now with scheduling challenges, with supply chain issues, with labor challenges, it takes a long time to get through that. And so if you can show them right up front, look, if you want to be here, this is what you need to do now, because we have this much of work ahead of us. Oh, wait, we only have one slot available for this particular month. So you can create that urgency immediately and get someone to go ahead and really expedite that sales process instead of going back and forth and doing the traditional, I'll get back to you, let's follow up, let's schedule another meeting sort of thing.
Absolutely. You have to take control. You have to assume nothing and explain everything, because we all suffer from the curse of knowledge, don't we? we assume people will realize how long it will take and what the next steps are. But no, we have to lay this out very clearly and communicate everything to our prospect.
Well, it's an excellent definition of slot selling. I think anyone listening now will, understand how it works. So I always laugh because it's one thing to theoretically say, hey, this is how it works, but this is another way to actually do it. And the thing I love about Association Professional Builders is that you guys actually put together a course and all the nitty-gritty details of it. So the beautiful news is that slot selling creates urgency through scarcity, but then there's always the challenge of implementing it.